Death Valley is the hottest place on Earth. In July 1913, it hit 134 degrees Fahrenheit, a record that hasn't been broken to this day. 3 million acres of scorched earth, a place where GPS lies, compasses go crazy, and cellular service is a dream. Less than 2 inches of rainfall in a year. Every summer the park takes the lives of those who underestimate the desert. People disappear in Death Valley all the time. Hikers, adventurers, suicides. But when a ranger with 15 years of experience, who knows every rock and trail, disappears, you can't write it off as an accident. My name is Michael Torres, and in October 1999, I found myself caught up in an investigation that changed my life and forced me to leave the profession I loved. Autumn of '99. Everyone is obsessed with Problem 2000. Computers were supposed to bring civilization down on New Year's Eve. There's a lull in the park. The summer rush of tourists has died down, and the winter rush is still a month away. Quiet time for the Rangers, or it should be. I worked in Death Valley for 8 years. After the Navy, I was looking for a place to be quiet, to think. The desert gives you that if you survive. James Holt taught me how to survive. The old wolf, as we called him. 15 years in the park, before that a geologist for an oil company, knew every crevasse, every water source, could predict a sandstorm in 2 days. The 28th of October, Thursday. A typical morning at Furnace Creek Station. Checking gear, refueling jeeps, sorting out night reports. Holt took the northern route to check sensors at Ubahibi Crater. Routine half-day trip. At 2:47 p.m. he got his last call. I remember the time exactly. I was just finishing filling in the trip sheet. Base, this is Holt. I'm 3 miles southwest of Ubahibi. I see lights on the horizon. Copy that, Holt. Clarify. Vehicles? Negative. They're not cars. Too bright, moving, weird. Going to check it out. Holt, follow protocol. Report coordinates. Wait for backup. Silence. Then the crackle of static. Holt, come in. Holt, come in. He never made contact again. I left 15 minutes later. The station master wanted to wait until morning to organize a full search. But I knew in the desert, hours count. Plus, there was something in Holt's voice. He's not the panicky type. In all my years, I've never heard him break protocol. This one's, I'm going to check it out, and it's quiet. The sun was already slipping toward the horizon when I got to his last coordinates. Holt's Jeep was parked on the side of the dirt road, engine off, keys in the ignition. The radio was on, but silent. On the seat was his address book, open to the page with today's date. The last entry is at 2:35 p.m., 12 minutes before the call. Fire's intensifying. Source is Lost Burrow Canyon. On my way to meet RD. May know something important. RD, initials. I saw a few more times flipping through the last week's notes. Someone Holt was meeting with. Someone who knew something about the lights. I took a book, a torch, a walkie-talkie. Holt's tracks led west towards the canyon. Clear boot prints in the sand, a steady gait. 100 yards later, I found the tracks of a second car. And smaller city boot prints. Holt had met someone here. And then his footprints ran alongside the other man's for about 50 yards. And then the city's boot prints turned sharply back to the car, as if the man were running. And Holt's footprints continued on for a little while longer and broke off at the edge of the salt flat. Where the hard ground turned to salt crust, deep furrows were visible, as if something heavy had been dragged along the ground. In 25 years, I have replayed the events of those days many times in my head. I've searched for logic, tried to understand. The official investigation was a dead end. Holt was reported missing. The case was closed after a year, but I knew it wasn't just a disappearance. Holt had found something. Something related to a 1952 military project that no one was supposed to know about. And someone had made sure that secret stayed buried in the desert. Darkness comes quickly in the desert. I switched on the lantern where Holt's footprints ended. I squatted down, examining the transition from solid ground to salt crust. The furrows led further down the salt, but after 10 feet they disappeared. Someone had carefully erased them, leveled the surface, professional work, went back to his Jeep. The police procedures we were taught said to record everything, so I pull out a notebook, start taking inventory. Keys in the ignition, radios on, tuned to the service frequency. half a tank of petrol. 147 miles on the odometer. Check the morning report, matches the route to Ubahibi, and here. On the passenger seat is his work bag. Inside is a standard kit, GPS navigator, working battery at 70%, geological hammer, rock samples in labeled bags, radiation meter, background is normal, and a notebook, flicked through the latest entries. The usual work notes until the 21st of October. Then things change. Hey, the 21st of October. Talked with Bill Sanders of the Geological Survey. Mentioned increased seismic activity in the racetrack playa area. Official sensors aren't picking up anything. The 23rd of October. Checked the station's old archives. Found the incidents 1950 to 1960 folder. 3 cases of missing rangers. All between October and November. Cases closed as accidents. Found a contact number for one R. Decker, a witness in the 1952 Morrow case. The 26th of October, contacted Decker, former Western Geophysics employee, worked on a military contract in the 50s, agreed to meet, said he was tired of not talking. Set up a meeting for the 28th. The 28th of October morning, going to Ubahib. Then I'm meeting Decker at Lost Barrow Canyon at 3 p.m. Robert Decker. That explains how Holt got to him, through old archives. Witness in a 1952 case, still alive, radioed the base. Carlson, check the archives for Ranger Morrow's case file, 1952. Find any mention of a witness named Robert Decker. Just a second, Torres. Bingo. Robert Decker, 27 years old at the time of the deposition, technician for Western Geophysicals. Saw Morrow the day before he disappeared near well number 7. Nothing else of significance. Well #7, remembered. I returned to the tracks. By the light of the lantern, I noticed something I had missed before. 10 feet from Holt's last trail, his compass was lying on the hard ground. The arrow did not point north, but twitched between northwest and west. I checked mine, it was working fine. Local magnetic anomaly, walked further along the barely visible furrows in the salt. 20 feet away, I found a small stain. I looked closely, dried blood. A few drops. Took a sample. I looked around. 50 yards from the tracks, he saw something shiny. A rifle cartridge casing. 308 caliber. Fresh. Next to it was a second blood stain. Bigger. Radioed the base again. Carlson, contact hospitals within a 200-mile radius. Check for gunshot wounds in the last 12 hours. Got it. Torres, the warden wants you back. He says the sheriff's coming in the morning. It was starting to get light. At the edge of the salt flat, 300 yards from the scene, I saw Holt's baseball cap. Bloodstains inside. But the strangest thing was the location. It was lying on absolutely untouched salt, without a single trace around it. Either it had been thrown from afar, or someone had very carefully erased all traces. Carlson's excited voice came over the radio. Torres, there's information. Las Vegas Hospital, 7:30 p.m. admission. Male in his 70s with a gunshot wound to the shoulder. Identified himself as Robert Decker on admission, but when he heard the police were called, he ran out the back exit. This is it. Decker's hurt, Holt's missing. Someone didn't want them to meet. Or did they? But they got in the way. I got into the Jeep, started the engine. There were explanations waiting for me at the base, which I didn't have. Only questions. And a bad feeling that the story of the 1952 military project was just the beginning. In the rearview mirror, the desert looked calm. But I knew that somewhere out there something had happened that someone really didn't want to go public, and Holt was at the center of it. The sheriff of Inyo County arrived the next morning, a big man in his 50s with faded blue eyes and a way of talking like every word was worth money. He looked over where Holt's Jeep had been found, nodded at my report. The feds are interested, he said, lighting a cigarette. Las Vegas called, asked me to keep them informed. FBI? They didn't, just the feds. That's odd. Usually federal agencies introduce themselves when they interfere in local affairs. Unless it's, Sheriff, did you hear about the military project in Death Valley in the 50s? He took a drag, letting the smoke out. You know, Mike, I've been sheriff here for 30 years. Seen nosy rangers get into trouble. Better watch your step and stay out of trouble. It'll cost you. After his departure, I went to the station's archive. An old barrack-type building built back in the 40s. Dusty shelves, boxes of documents dating back half a century. No filing system, just the years on the boxes and not always accurate. Started in 1952. Fifth box, bingo. A folder labeled Official Use, stale with traces of mold. Inside are reports that made me sit down. October 1952. Ranger David Morrow failed to make contact while on patrol in Sector 7B, the area of present-day Racetrack Playa. A search for him yielded no results, only the service vehicle was found. It gets better. The file contains correspondence of the station chief with a certain Colonel Harris from the Special Unit of the U.S. Army. Harris demanded to stop the search and transfer all materials to the military. The station manager resisted, citing the civilian jurisdiction of the park. The last document in the folder is an order transferring the station manager to another park. The date is a week after Morrow disappeared. Found a list of witnesses in the same folder. Robert Decker, Western Geophysics technician, home address in Las Vegas. Next to it in pencil, uncooperative, refers to non-disclosure. The next find is in a box for 1971. Ranger Carl Wenner, same neighborhood, same circumstances. But now not even witnesses were interviewed. The case was closed in 3 days. 1984, Ranger Susan O'Brien. By this time, it's a well-established pattern. A quick wrap-up, no witnesses, minimal documentation. I was putting together a timeline when I heard footsteps. A man in an expensive suit stood in the doorway. About 40 years old, short haircut, professional look. Michael Torres, Agent Cooper, Bureau of Land Management. I need all the files on Ranger Holt's disappearance. The Bureau of Land Management doesn't wear Armani suits or drive black SUVs with government plates. I've seen his car out the window. Do you have a warrant? Mr. Torres, this is a matter of national security. Cooperation is in your best interest. Can't help you without a warrant. He nodded as if he had expected that answer. I see. By the way, Bakersfield is a nice town. I hear the schools there are great. Your daughter Emily goes to Jefferson High, right? 3rd grade. I hope she likes it. I got up from the table. He raised his hand. Take it easy, Mr. Torres. Just a friendly reminder. We all have loved ones. Be sensible. Some rocks are better left unturned. He turned round and walked away. I watched out the window as his car pulled out of the car park. GP plates, clean, without a speck of dust in the desert. Quickly photographed key documents, stashed the film. Then I found a 1952 Las Vegas phone book in the archives. Robert Decker was listed. The address matched the one in the file. I figured I'd try to see if the old man still lived there. That evening, I called my ex-wife. I warned her to be careful picking Emily up from school by herself. Karen was alarmed, but I reassured her it was just a precaution. Drove to Las Vegas the next morning. Decker's address was in the old neighborhood. The house was still there, a shabby one-story structure from the 50s. An elderly woman answered the door. I'm looking for Robert Decker. That's my husband, but he's not here. He left last night, said he was visiting his sister in Phoenix. He didn't leave a message for me? Michael Torres, James Holt's colleague? Her face changed. Is it because of that story? Bob warned me someone might be coming. Just a minute. Came back with a note. Said to give it to you if a man came from Holt. The note had a payphone number and a time. Today, 4 p.m. At precisely 4 o'clock, I stood at the telephone booth at the bus station. The call came a minute later. Torres? Yes, Mr. Decker? Listen carefully, time is short. Locker 47, the key is under the 3rd bin to the left of the entrance. Everything I can tell you is in there. Don't come looking for me, and be careful. They killed Holt. What? Are you sure? I saw it. They thought I was bleeding in the bushes. Holt covered me when they started shooting. They loaded him into the van. He didn't fight back. I guess he was unconscious, or just get the materials and decide for yourself what to do with it. Horns. Found the key, opened the box. Inside was a tattered folder and an audio cassette. In the folder are copies of contracts from the 50s. Western Geophysics and the military. The subject is geological exploration of a special area. Coordinates match the locations of all the disappearances, and a note in red. Project closed after the Well 7 incident. All personnel transferred. Access restricted indefinitely. On the tape is Decker's trembling voice. I am Robert Decker, a former technician for Western Geophysics. In October 1952, we were drilling well #7 on a military contract. At a depth of 1,200 feet, there was a blowout. Not gas, something else. 3 workers were hospitalized with strange symptoms. Then the military came, evacuated everyone. Morrow, the local ranger, asked questions. 2 days later, he was gone. I've been silent for almost 50 years. Subscription, threats, fear. But when Holt found me, I knew it was time to tell the truth. We agreed to meet. The men in black showed up at the meeting. Professionals. Holt spotted them first, pushed me over the rocks. Bullet grazed his shoulder. I saw him get tasered and dragged into a van. Didn't remember the numbers. It hurt, I was fainting. What's at the bottom of well #7, I don't know. But the military is still guarding it, and they take out anyone who gets too close. Sitting in the car, digesting what I heard, Holt was kidnapped or murdered. A half-century-old military secret. And I'm next on the list. On the way back, I spotted a stakeout. Gray sedan, professional distance. At the fork, I checked. I turned onto a country lane. The sedan drove past. 5 minutes later, another black SUV appeared in the mirror. I got back to the park after dark. There was a note on the desk from the chief. "Torres, your investigation is closed. I expect a report tomorrow stopping the search. That's an order." But I couldn't stop. Not now that I knew the truth. Tomorrow night, I'll head to well #7. It was in Decker's files. Whatever they're hiding, I have to find out. For Holt. For everyone who's missing. Even if it's the last thing I do. Left at 2 o'clock in the morning. Personal pickup, radio off, left my mobile phone at home. If they're watching the signals, let them think I'm asleep. The coordinates led to a restricted area, 50 square miles of ecological reserve. In half a century, not a single research team, not a single permit to visit. Parked a mile from the perimeter, then walked the rest of the way. I brought my Army night vision binoculars, a torch, a camera, and a Glock, my service weapon, which I had never taken out of its holster on a mission in 8 years. I found the fence quickly, rusty wire from the 50s. But there were fresh posts with motion sensors and infrared cameras nearby. I walked along the bed of a dried-up stream. I'd learned at the academy how to avoid standard surveillance systems. Beyond the perimeter is a dirt road. Fresh, heavy vehicle tracks, though the area has supposedly been abandoned for decades. Moved along the road, keeping in the shadow of the rocks. 40 minutes later, I saw the compound, military-style concrete buildings, some of them clearly abandoned. But the central hangar was fine. Lights in the windows, generators humming. 2 jeeps at the entrance, unmarked. I walked round from the north, climbed up the hill. Through binoculars, I could see what was supposed to be well #7, only it was no longer a well. The hole was 30 meters in diameter. The edges were melted and glazed. It was as if something had exploded from inside with a monstrous temperature. There were metal structures around the perimeter which went into the hangar. I went down closer and took a series of pictures. There were strange patterns on the melted stones, not from the explosion, but rather from prolonged exposure to high temperature. Decided to take a chance, break into the hangar. No guards in sight, just inside. Service door with an electronic lock, but there's a vent next to it. Old building, wide air ducts. I squeezed through, crawled for about 10 minutes. I got out in the back. I listened for voices somewhere far away. Opened the door. A corridor, standard military layout. There were stenciled inscriptions on the walls. Sector D4, Alpha clearance level only. I followed the signs to the control center. I need to figure out what's going on here. At the fork, I saw another sign, medical block. My heart sank. What if? Turned towards the infirmary, a massive door with a reinforced glass window. I looked inside and could barely contain my scream. Hospital beds in a row. 3 of them have people on IVs. And the closest one is Holt alive, but changed. Pale skin with a gray tinge, veins showing a dark net. Hooked up to machines, monitors showing strange readings. The door was locked, but I saw an emergency button under the glass. Smashed it with my fist, pressed it. The lock clicked. Ran up to Holt. Breathing's shallow, pulses irregular. I started to switch off the machines. To hell with the protocols, we've got to get him out of here. You shouldn't do that, Mr. Torres. I turned around. Standing in the doorway was Agent Cooper and 2 unmarked uniformed men. Hands on holsters, but no weapons drawn yet. What did you do to him? Saving his life, and probably the lives of millions of others. Cooper entered the room, nodding at the other patients. See that man over there? That's David Morrow. Yes, the same one from 1952. And the woman is Susan O'Brien. They've all been exposed to what's downstairs. You've been keeping people here for decades? We are studying the impact and looking for a way to stop it. Well, #7 has penetrated a pocket of an unknown substance. It's altering organic matter on a molecular level, slowly but irreversibly. Holt groaned. He opened his eyes, pupils dilated, almost black. Michael, why are you here? Get you out of here. Too late, they showed me downstairs. It's alive, Michael, and it's growing. Cooper stepped closer. Mr. Torres, you have a choice. Leave now and forget what you saw, or stay here forever. Decide quickly. You can't keep people imprisoned. This is not confinement, this is quarantine. They're infected with something we still can't name. To release them is to risk an epidemic of unknown nature. He looked at Holt. Recognition flashed in his eyes, almost human. Go away, Michael. You have a daughter. Don't make the same mistakes we did. Jim, I'm not the same person you knew. Whatever it is down there, it changes more than just the body. Sometimes I hear it, feel it. It's waiting, growing. And someday... Cooper made a sign to his men. They parted. Last chance, Mr. Torres. We have a dossier on anyone who came close to the truth. Some ended up in mental hospitals. No one believes stories about secret military bases. Others died in accidents. Still others, like your predecessors, ended up here. The choice is yours. He walked slowly towards the exit. He turned round at the door. How many more places like this are there? Enough to keep you up at night. Go on, Mr. Torres, and remember, we're watching, always. I was taken out through the main entrance and escorted to my car. All the way home, the headlights of the escort loomed in the mirror. The next day, I submitted my resignation letter. The chief received it in silence. Apparently, he was waiting. I packed my things, handed over my weapon and badge. 8 years of service ended with one signature. Moved to Oregon, got a job as a security consultant for a private firm. Boring work, but safe. Emily grew up never knowing why her father gave up his dream job. 25 years of silence. At first out of fear, year after year, I waited for them to come. Then I got used to it. But last year, Cooper died, heart attack, according to the papers. Then a month later, I got a letter with no return address. Inside was a picture of the infirmary. Holt's bunk is empty, a notation on the back. The process is complete. He has gone to the source. Soon the others will go. What does that mean? I don't know, but Site D4 is still active. Checked with Google Earth satellite images. More buildings, higher fence, new airstrip. Whatever was at the bottom hasn't disappeared. I'm writing this because I have to. People have a right to know. Somewhere in the deserts, in the mountains, underground, there are places where the government is hiding things that don't fit into our picture of the world. And there are people who pay for those secrets with their lives. James Holt, David Morrow, Susan O'Brien, and others. They are not missing. They were victims of something we may never know the truth about. And sometimes, when I can't sleep, I think of Holt's words. It's waiting, growing, and the empty bunk in the picture. Some secrets are better left unsolved, but some stories must be told.